A warm welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I'm Layo Olarinde. Here are the highlights of the program. US President Donald Trump sanctions the International Criminal Court (ICC), calling it illegitimate. The ICC condemns the US sanctions, vowing to continue providing justice. And President Trump restates his takeover proposal of the Gaza Strip, Palestinians to be resettled in the region, and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, says this will only be temporary. Plus, governors from Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger, alongside international development partners, humanitarian civil society organizations, and representatives from local and international communities, address pressing security challenges, exploring the solutions for stability in the Lake Chad Basin region. But before that, let's check other top stories in diplomatic circles.
Leaders from East and Southern Africa are calling for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire to end the deadly fighting in the Democratic Republic of Congo. At a crisis summit in Tanzania, the Southern African Development Community (SADC) and East African Community (EAC) blocs urged all warring parties to hold peace talks with the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels within 5 days. The president of the Gießen-Friedberg Chamber of Commerce and Industry Germany, Mr. Matthias Ledger, is committing to more vocational skills training by the German government for Nigerians. He stated this during a meeting with the Minister of Industries, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole, in Abuja. Mr. Ledger explains that the gesture will improve the nation's unemployment rate as well as boost its socio-economic development. On her part, the minister says the intervention of the German government aligns with the federal government of Nigeria's plan for investments and industrialization efforts, promising to do all that is necessary to improve partnerships that will make it a reality.
The stuff they learn is adapted for the market or not. And they have 3 days a week they work in the company, 3 to 4 days, and 1 day they attend the vocational training school. And it's quite a tough training, and it's a training that really gives them very, very high qualification. And this could be some kind of game changer also for Nigeria. Imagine you would have a repair station for Lufthansa. Lufthansa now have to bring their planes to Johannesburg, South Africa, in Africa. Imagine you would have a repair station in Lagos. Lagos is much more central in Africa than it is Johannesburg. And if you had a repair station in Lagos, all the planes could go there. Of course, this cannot happen in 1 or 2 years, but imagine this would be in 5 or 10 years the case.
It's a pleasure to welcome you and to listen to what you have in store. I mean, it's pretty clear. I wish you all the best with marketing this to Nigerian MSMEs. It's a great opportunity, so I'm sure that they will take you up on it. And we look forward to seeing how we might possibly participate as a ministry in this year's conference. We're always open to opportunities for Nigerian youth.
Nigeria has officially taken over the chairmanship of the Rabat process, a key Euro-African dialogue on migration and development. This was disclosed by the Federal Commissioner of the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Mr. Tijani Ahmed, during a briefing in Abuja. Mr. Ahmed said the country's leadership was formalized at the senior officials meeting of the Rabat process in Porto, Portugal in January 2025, where the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction took over the leadership of the dialogue.
We want to lead this process and to also appeal the conscience of our international partners or countries to say that we need to soften some of these conditions so that our youth can move, can have the access, free access to move and go for knowledge increase or whatever. So this is one of the advantages. And the second advantage is that, of course, the more we get our youth now fly out of the country to either work seeking for greener pastures through the legal means, of course, the more we get remittances that we used to have here in Nigeria. You remember, I told you some times ago here that in 2023, we've gotten no less than $23 billion through remittances. This has become a major part of our occurrences into the Nigerian corpus. So with this leadership now, I think we should be able to influence some key decisions that will also assist Nigeria. And not only that, as leader of the Rabat process, of course, all the major meetings on issues surrounding the migration governance will take place here in Nigeria.
Argentina's President Javier Milei has announced his country's plans to pull out of the World Health Organization. The decision to exit the WHO was triggered by deep differences regarding health management, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. The WHO was accused of not standing up to its responsibilities during the pandemic as it advocated eternal lockdowns without scientific backends. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Tuga, visits Manama, the Kingdom of Bahrain, engaging in bilateral discussions with his Bahraini counterpart, Dr. Abdulatif bin Rashid Al Zayani. The meeting focuses on strengthening diplomatic ties, facilitating foreign direct investment from Bahrain, enhancing trade and investment opportunities, and fostering cooperation in the oil and gas sectors, with particular emphasis on offshore projects and development of the 8th Train LNG. Both ministers capped the meeting with the signing of a joint communique to foster closer ties and mutual cooperation between the two nations.
U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order sanctioning the International Criminal Court, accusing it of illegitimate and baseless actions targeting America and its close ally Israel. The measure places financial and visa restrictions on individuals and their families who assist in ICC investigations of American citizens or allies. Mr. Trump signed the measure as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was visiting Washington, D.C. Last November, the ICC issued an arrest warrant for Netanyahu over alleged war crimes in Gaza, which Israel denies. The ICC also issued a warrant for Hamas commander. Judges at the court said there were reasonable grounds that Prime Minister Netanyahu, his former defense minister Yoav Gallant, and Mohammed Deif of Hamas bore criminal responsibility for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. The U.S. president has also restated his plan for the takeover of the Gaza Strip with Palestinians resettled in the region. Earlier, he proposed the takeover of Gaza on a long term and promised turning it into the Riviera of the Middle East. Mr. Trump made this known at a White House news conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu during his visit to Washington, D.C.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace that will end the bloodshed and killing once and for all. With the same goal in mind, my administration has been moving quickly to restore trust in the alliance and rebuild American strength throughout the region. And we've really done that. We're a respected nation again. Today, I also took action to restore a maximum pressure policy on the Iranian regime. And we will once again enforce the most aggressive possible sanctions, drive Iranian oil exports to zero, and diminish the regime's capacity to fund terror throughout the region and throughout the world.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. You are the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House. Now, in the first days of your second term, you picked up right where you left off. Your leadership helped bring our hostages home, among them American citizens. You freed up munitions that have been withheld from Israel. They had been withheld from Israel in the midst of a seven-front war for our existence. And you just freed it. You ended unjust sanctions against law-abiding Israeli citizens. You boldly confronted the scourge of anti-Semitism. You stopped funding, as you just said, international organizations like UNRWA that support and fund terrorists. And today, you renewed the maximum pressure campaign against Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, all this in just 2 weeks. Can we imagine where we'll be in 4 years? I can. I know you can, Mr. President.
Members of Trump's administration are trying to clarify what he's actually proposing amid a barrage of questions. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says the right of Palestinians to live as human beings in their own land is slipping further out of reach, and this may lead to ethnic cleansing, which must be avoided.
The exercise of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people is about the right of Palestinians to simply live as human beings in their own land. First, we must keep pushing for a permanent ceasefire and release of all hostages without delay. We cannot go back to more death and destruction. For our part, the UN is working around the clock to reach Palestinians in need and scale up support. That requires humanitarian access that is rapid, safe, unimpeded, expanded, and sustained. I call on member states, donors, and the international community to fully fund humanitarian operations and meet urgent needs. And I once again urge member states to support the essential work of UNRWA. It is vital to stay true to the bedrock of international law. It is essential to avoid any form of ethnic cleansing. Any durable peace will require tangible, irreversible, and permanent progress toward the two-state solution, an end to the occupation, and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with Gaza as an integral part.
This fabulous organization has been serving millions of Palestinian refugees, and it is carrying a noble activities in the service of our people, particularly in the Gaza Strip, which is in need of the most help that one asks for. We need to rebuild the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is a very precious component of the land of the State of Palestine. It is part of our homeland, and we don't have a homeland other than the State of Palestine. So therefore, we are not looking for other homelands or other countries. For those who want us to have a happy place and safe place, we will be delighted to return to our homes inside the State of Israel.
Joining me now for more perspectives is Dr. Chukwuemeka Eze, a diplomatic relations law expert. Thank you for joining us on Diplomatic Channel.
Thank you for inviting me.
I want to begin by asking your thoughts. What do you make of President Donald Trump's sanctions on the International Criminal Court?
Recall that the Rome Statute was adopted in 1998. In 2002, America passed what was known as the American Servicemen Protection Act of 2002, wherein the law took the position that no country should hand over American service soldiers to the ICC. So it completely barred any country, and beyond the law, America extended it by entering into bilateral agreements with countries to ensure that they won't argue based on what we call ASPA, that's the American Servicemen Protection Act. So it's just that Trump is loquacious. The way he speaks, many people now think that it is Trump that is the first person to be anti-ICC. America is not a party to the ICC. And not being a party, but general rules not bound by the provisions of the Rome Statute. So what Trump has done is within the laws of the United States of America, and it's not new, but Trump is loquacious in order to make the whole thing seem as if it is Trump that started the whole thing, but it's not new.
Well, just like you've mentioned, the US and Israel, they're not members of the ICC. However, over 120 countries, including the UK and European nations, are members, and these are allies to the US and Israel. Could this perhaps impact the diplomatic relations between these countries?
Yes, it will have impact. What happens is that Israel is small America in the Middle East. America sees it that they want to start with our own children. They want to start with Israel and get to us. So that's why they needed to act fast before Netanyahu is arrested. So with the body language and with the speeches of Trump, any country trying to arrest Netanyahu now will know that it will be confronting America if the Congress eventually passes this act. So definitely it will be confronting America. So it has spoken in unmistaken terms that diplomatically an attack on Israel will be an attack on the US by the ICC. And the ICC justices will have sanctions against them under the Counteraction Act. They will have sanctions against them. Their family members, they won't be able to visit the US. Their assets will be frozen. And any of the allies of US that harbors them might also suffer some consequences. So definitely diplomatically, the alliance between the United States and Israel concerning the ICC will have a lot of consequences, not just for the two countries, but for many of the countries that are state contracting parties to the Rome Statute.
All right, let's talk about President Trump's comments on Gaza, that the U.S. could be taking over, would be taking over the Strip. Under international law, attempts to forcibly transfer populations from occupied territories are strictly prohibited. Do you see this proposal perhaps signaling a shift in the U.S. policy on the Middle East?
The proposal is weighed. But it is America wants to, or United States of America wants to become an occupying power. But occupying powers under international law is illegal. Let me start from that position. Because under the 1907 Hague regulations, the 1949 Fourth Geneva Convention, Additional Protocol 1 to the Geneva Conventions of 1977, and customary international humanitarian law. It is illegal under international law to be an occupying power. But one reason why one cannot dismiss Trump, you recall, it seemed impossible that Jerusalem will be recognized as the capital of Israel, or that embassy, American embassy, will be moved to Jerusalem. But Trump did it. For the first time, Trump recognized Golan Heights in his first term. So Trump had done things that under international law, modern international law, many people thought could not be done. So that's why many experts are taking him serious that this thing could come to pass. It's better we expand the basis of conversation and now see the fallouts. No, in the international space, you can never say no, no. After all, in the Khartoum Declaration of 29 August 1967, during the Fourth Arab Summit, the Arab League Summit, the Arab League said that there won't be peace, no peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, no negotiation with Israel. Those are the three no's. Despite the three no's, during Trump's first term, 4 members of the Arab League entered the Abrahamic Accord. I mean, they established Sudan, Morocco, Bahrain, and United Arab Emirates. So what they said they wouldn't do in 1967, they did later. And Jordan in 1994 entered into accord with Israel. So things people thought wouldn't happen, they have happened. Today we are speaking about possible Saudi Arabia and Israel having diplomatic relations. So let's not completely dismiss Trump, whether it is legal or illegal under international law.
All right, then. Thank you so much. Dr. Chukwuemeka is a diplomatic relations law expert. Thank you for your time on Diplomatic Channel.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
The 5th edition of the Lake Chad Basin Governors Forum, organized by the Lake Chad Basin Commission in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the UN Development Programme, recently held in Maiduguri, Borno State, Nigeria. Common challenges confronting the region, particularly in the areas of security, trade, commerce, and regional stabilization, were top on the burner.
Governors from the Republic of Chad, Cameroon, Niger Republic, and Nigeria, as well as traditional rulers within the Lake Chad region, are joined by development partners, security agencies, humanitarian and donor agencies for the 5th edition of the region's Governors Forum. Themed Rebuilding the Lake Chad Basin, Consolidating Gains, Commitment to Peace, Cross-Border Cooperation, Security, and Sustainable Development for a Resilient Community. The meeting seeks to address the several issues confronting the region. Although the meeting is holding in Maiduguri, the Yobe State Governor is hosting the annual event, and Governor Mai Malabuni delivers the welcome address.
Today, we convene at a time when the Lake Chad Basin faces multifaceted challenges that includes growing demography, security threats, limited infrastructure, climate change, socio-economic disparities that demand concerted efforts.
Security is the main thrust of the conversation at this meeting.
I want to assure you that we're here together with you all the way. Success for us is the ability of the IDPs to go back to their communities, refugees to go back to their countries, and for the Lake Chad region to flourish all the way. We know how it used to be before. It is our desire that we go back to that.
Aside security, other leaders from the region raise issues of concern, including regional stability, trade, and sustainable development. Vice President Kashim Shettima is the guest of honor, and he charges regional leaders and international partners to intensify efforts to address the social challenges in the region.
We must not allow the geopolitical tensions across the world to solve discord amongst us. Or should we permit ourselves to become tools in end from the agenda? The salvation of the entire region is neither in Europe nor in the Americas. It lies in the hands of all those gathered here today. You will be representatives of this forum, embody not only our collective will to protect the region, but also the transformative potential that stability brings.
The meeting then moves to technical sessions to discuss the challenges as well as proffering solutions that are expected to improve the region.
Please give His Excellency a big round of applause.
And that's Diplomatic Channel this week. You can watch this and other episodes again on youtube.com/channelsweb. I'm Layo Olarinde. Thank you for watching.